Hello, everyone. So these days I'm spending a lot of time on the community because it is much easier to just open the community portal and take a look at some questions, and then after I reply to these questions, I also make a video. So I think it is a good thing because when I look at these questions, I am also trying to refresh my memory, and sometimes I also learn new things that are happening in Atlassian ecosystem. So today I wanted to talk about this question from Anita Shen. Now the question is there any app that can calculate the predicted percentage done and real percentage done? Now this question is basically asking about, basically the question is all about how can we measure the progress and how can we also do some kind of forecasting to basically understand where we are in our, let us say, sprint or maybe in our plan. Now, because Anita, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If you are talking about agile, because you have mentioned here story, so let us say you are talking about agile based projects. The first thing that I would ask you is what is your definition of a percentage? Now, definition of percentage is something which is not always consistent. If you ask different teams or different managers how are they measuring progress, you will get different answers. But let us say if you are following Scrum methodologies and you are following everything by book and you're also using Jira software, then a simple way to measure progress is number of story points burned. So let us say in the beginning of your sprint, you agreed that in this particular sprint 1 to whatever, uh, you have to you have basically stories that you want to deliver with combined total story points as 30. So basically you're committing that you will deliver 30, and after, let us say, a week or maybe 7 days or 6 days, you want to know where you are, whether you're going to deliver those stories or all the stories that you initially planned to deliver or not. A simple way to measure progress here is basically look at the burn down chart, because burn down chart will tell you the baseline. Basically, based on the number of story points you initially committed, you will get a baseline here, something like this. If you look at this is probably not a massively useful burn down chart, but if you look at this particular burn down chart and if you look at the baseline, which is in the gray color, so in the beginning, start of your sprint, you were hoping to deliver 17.5 story points in total, and if you look at the next 2 weeks, basically by end of September 16th, the idea here is to deliver each and everything. And this table will also show you this information, like in the beginning you started with 18, but this may not be always the case. For example, let us say today is 8th of September. Now if you look at this red line is actually below the baseline, which is actually a good thing in my opinion. Not in my opinion, but yeah, it is a good thing because you are burning your story points, or basically you're delivering the work, and you're slightly ahead of schedule. And if you see this red line above the gray line here, it means that right now, as per this particular report, as of right now, you if you see the gap here, it means that it will get difficult day by day uh, to basically complete the work. So if you look at this awesome burn down chart, it will show you this gap here. So try to keep your red line below your original gray line. And this is of course a very good way of looking at the progress. Of course, it depends on how you're measuring progress. If you're measuring progress based on the number of story points, which I think works if you're trying to keep things simple, but you may have some other way. I remember when I was many years ago. In fact, I guess 2007, I guess, when I was working for a big telecom company, I was responsible for creating these reports, and I used to work on something called as earned value management. And when you talk about earned value management, you want to know uh, basically it's a tool for projection. Basically, you want to know, or forecasting, you want to know where you are based on the current information. But of course, uh, if you want to do things by following agile and you want to keep things simple, then I think burn down chart will give you a lot of information. At the same time, you can also take a look at the cumulative flow diagram, which is really interesting. And basically, this diagram will tell you, this chart will tell you uh, about the bottlenecks. Basically, if a status is, let us say, in a if not a status, but if the issues are in a specific status for a long time, then it means something is not good. You maybe people are waiting for something, maybe things are blocked, and you want to make sure that when you're looking at this particular diagram, you should see this blue color rising up, which is not the case right now, because right now if you look at this chart, starting from 23rd of September or after 22nd, something happened. Basically, the number of items, or basically the issues in to-do status, they are rising, and it is not really a good thing. Basically, if you look at the cumulative flow diagram, ideally these three diagrams should show you some, or these three colors, these three areas in the cumulative flow diagram should show you some consistency in the number of issues getting delivered. So do take a look at this diagram. I think this can also be useful. But again, as long as you are keeping track of the information in Jira, maybe you want to keep things very simple, and you have something like planned start date, actual start date, planned end date, and actual end date. Let us say you have dates, you want to, especially if you're using advanced roadmaps. So you can use an app like EasyBI, for example, to always create a simple table and maybe perform some calculations if you need to, if you really worry about those measures like schedule variance, cost variance, effort variance. So these things are possible with the help of an app. And in fact, Anita is asking about some apps that can do these things. But I would say start by looking at the built-in reports, and then try those apps. And that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.